Hey Canucks fans, finally we can say that we'll be watching some Canucks hockey this month. I'm Canuck Clay, I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club. This is my Canucks take on one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Wednesday, September the 1st. If you're new, here's what you should do. Hit the subscribe button now for daily Canucks insight that's positive, timely, and trustworthy. Happy belated birthday shout out to Enzi. And I want to start talking about this Canucks team because it's September the 1st. That's right. The Canucks are actually going to be playing hockey this month. I'll talk about that in a second. But first, let's talk about this offseason. It's weird. It's been the shortest offseason in a while, but it still feels really long. Maybe it's because I'm pretty excited about the team this year. As you guys know, if you've been following me for a while, I'm very optimistic about this team. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people, surprise a lot of teams throughout the league. And before I get into the September storylines, I want to quickly talk about where we've been. The Canucks played their final regular season game on May 19th. You guys might remember that was kind of weird because the playoff series were already starting and the Canucks were playing Calgary for a couple games. So May 19th, the Canucks wound up the season. And then May 21st, just 2 days later, Travis Green was signed to a 2-year extension. So that was the biggest off-ice news of May, was Travis Green. Then basically a month later, on June 22nd, the Canucks announced that the Sedins were joining the team as special advisors. So that was kind of the biggest off-season news of June. So Travis Green in May, Sedins in June. And then it went crazy in July, starting with basically the trade for Jason Dickinson from Dallas. And then there was the draft, which we didn't have any players because when not even free agency opened. So right before the draft, we traded for Ekman Larsson and Garland, but traded away Roussel, Beagle, and Eriksson, and the 9th overall pick. So yes, we made that massive trade, but then we didn't have a first round pick in the overall in the NHL draft. Of course, we lost Colin to Seattle a couple of days before that in the expansion draft. So that all happened in the span of a week. Dickinson, the Coyotes trade, the expansion draft, the NHL draft, and then free agency, where the biggest splashes, as you know, were Tucker Poolman, were re-signing Brandon Sutter, were re-signing Travis Hamonic, and signing Yaroslav Halak. So that was all at the end of July. Then in August, you could argue that the biggest news story was signing Jason Dickinson to a 3-year contract, avoiding arbitration. So I think we touched on all the players. Oh, I guess at the end of July too, you obviously had the buyouts of Jake Virtanen, of Braden Holtby, and you have the trade of Nate Schmidt. So obviously a lot of things happened at the end of July. It was crazy. There was something exciting to talk about almost every single day, basically the exact opposite of right now. Then in August, you had the signing of Jason Dickinson. So I think we covered all the acquisitions, right? Ekman Larsson, Garland, Dickinson, Poolman, Halak, the 5 new players, and then of course re-signing Sutter and Hamonic. And then we talked about the guys that have left: Schmidt, Holtby, Virtanen, Eriksson, Beagle, Roussel, to name a few. So that's kind of where we got to how we got to today. Today is September 1st. That's exciting. Because here's some things that are happening in from a standpoint of dates-wise, and I'm going to talk about a couple storylines that I want to keep my eye on in September. Training camp opens September 23 to 25, so a 3-day training camp in Abbotsford, and then the very next day, on the 26th, the Canucks play their first of 8 preseason games in Spokane to take on the Seattle Kraken. And then that basically starts off a span of 8 preseason games over 2.5 weeks or so in advance of the Canucks opening their season on October the 13th, I believe, in Edmonton. So that's basically where we're looking at for the Canucks right now. Is training camp in Abbotsford, then the preseason schedule ahead of our start on October the 13th. So we're only 42 days away, if you want to count it that way. I saw a lot of people posting yesterday on Twitter, 43 days away from Canucks regular season opener, posting pictures of Quinn Hughes for 43, of course, his jersey number. But I think before we get to that, we got to get through training camp and preseason. So to end off, let's talk about, I'd say, 3 main storylines that I'm interested in tracking for September. The first one, obviously, the contracts of Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes. I've talked about these contracts a lot on this channel. I will say this as a reminder. I'm not freaking out yet. Although back in August, I said I wouldn't freak out until the middle of September. So we're getting a little bit closer to the middle of September. Remember, Bo Horvat in his second contract, when it was time to do his new contract, his second contract, he didn't sign until September 8th. And then for Brock Besser, he didn't sign until September the 16th. Now, those were years where training camp was a little bit earlier, so it was a little bit closer to camp. So do you use the comparison, the analogy that maybe if we want to say it's closer to camp, we might not see Pettersson and Hughes sign until the middle of September to the September 18, 19, 20, 21, right up to the camp starting on 23rd, maybe. So when you look at it in those relative terms, I'm still not worried, not yet, but obviously with every passing day, my anxiety, I'm not anxious about it, but my concern just goes up a tiny bit every single day. And obviously I won't be at peace like many of you until they actually sign. So that's the most important storyline, I think, is when are those contracts for Pettersson and Hughes going to be done? The other two big storylines for me are both training camp related. My first one is, what's the top six going to look like? We know it's going to be a lot better. And in particular, let's say that the Lotto line stays together, Pettersson, Miller, and Besser. I'm really interested in what the next line looks like. I know and many people are saying it's going to be Horvat and Garland with either Höglander or Podkolzin. Höglander is the incumbent, did very well in training camp last season, earned a starting spot on that line, actually right out of training camp, which is pretty cool. Will Podkolzin show enough in preseason to bump Höglander from that line? Or is Pettersson a good bet and a safe bet for the third line, kind of a heavier line with potentially Pearson and Jason Dickinson? And that's presuming Pearson's not on the second line. Do you go Pearson with Garland and Horvat? But then you don't want Pettersson and Höglander playing on the same line. Although it'd be a lot of fun, I'm not sure if Travis Green will like that. So I think that's a small battle to look at, is that second, that right winger on the second line. Is it Höglander? It's probably Höglander's job to lose, but will Podkolzin get a shot at that? Another storyline, the third storyline, also due to training camp, goalies who obviously know it's going to be Demko and Halak. I've talked about this before, is what are the D pairings going to be? And by extension, who's going to be the third D man on the left side? So we know that on the right side, locks are Hamonic, Pullman, and Myers. On the left side, locks are Ekman Larsson and Hughes. So then who's going to play on that third spot on that left side? Is it going to be Jack Rathbone, who doesn't have to clear waivers? Is it going to be Olli Juolevi, who does have to clear waivers? Or veteran Brad Hunt? So one of those three players, and then who gets matched with who? I still think it's going to be Hughes and Hamonic. I still think it's going to be Ekman Larsson and Pullman, and it's going to be third left guy with Myers. But I've also seen some projections where it's Myers with Ekman Larsson, and then Pullman plays with third left guy. So that's the third storyline I'm looking at. So Canucks fans, let me know your storylines as we enter the month of September. Mine are Pettersson and Hughes contracts. What's the top six and therefore the top nine going to look like? And then what are the D pairings going to look like in particular, driven by that third, not driven, but part of that is that third guy on the left-hand side. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to get some conversation going. It's September 1st. That means this is indeed a Canucks hockey month. I want to give a shout out to my hero tier, my hero members. I'll just say heroes. My hero members, that's what I'll call them. That is nucksfan number 29, Justin Credible, and Lucas Gates. And shout out to my Hall of Fame members, Jens95, Simalexander, Chris Seifried, Adam Broomfield, Shannon Hollingworth, and Andrew Chang. Thanks to the heroes, thanks to the Hall of Fame, thanks to the franchise, thanks to the All-Star, thanks to all members of all levels. You are listed in my video descriptions. If you want to become a member of the CCC Crew, press the join button underneath this or any of my videos or on the memberships tab on my YouTube channel. Leave a comment below. What are the storylines that you're most interested in following for the next few days, few weeks for the Vancouver Canucks? Subscribe if you'd like to. Like this video if you'd like to. Become a member of this channel if you'd like to. Leave a comment if you'd like to. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. And by the way, I just started a new workout plan, reunited with my personal trainer. So 3 times a week, getting up at 7 a.m. for a 7 a.m. workout. Did my first one today. I almost passed out in the shower. I think I'm out of breath right now. God bless, and go Canucks go.